Now, everybody knows I'm a diehard Bengals fan, and the season's coming quick. And this past week, Zach Taylor, best coach in the NFL, by the way, brings me in to quote-unquote roast the team. Roast less comedy show. And I've done these before, and this time was different. I always ask no cameras, no press. I just wanted to be closed doors so I can say whatever I want, and the guys can laugh at whatever they want, and there's no repercussions. Nobody's like saying that was inappropriate, that was politically incorrect. I just wanted to be like a locker room feel. And so what we did was they thought they were going to come in for their 6 o'clock meeting, and then me and my opener T-Robe, he went up first, and then I came up. And I feel somewhat guilty because this was the shortest I've ever done as far as a roast. I think the whole thing lasted about 15 minutes. You never want to be too long because the guys are ready to get out of there. It's towards the end of the day. And you don't want to drag. And you don't want to go up there and do 30 to 45 minutes and really only 10 to 15 was good. You was just talking to talk. You want to hit them, rapid fire, dismount, peace. So we're there, and T-Row did probably 2 or 3 minutes. He didn't do that long. And then I probably did, I think the whole thing was about 15 minutes. So I probably did 10 to 12. And all fire, all good. But I had some stuff lined up in my brain. Like I had some stuff on Mike Hilton. I had some stuff on Logan Wilson, a couple other guys, and it just I'm in there. I'm doing my thing, right? And I don't know what happened, but I don't know if people think when people pass away they talk to you, but in this instance, this was not planned. I'm up there. I'm telling the team. I'm bagging on a couple guys. I got on Evan McPherson a little bit. Got on Zach Taylor a little bit, and then told a couple jokes about how I would run a team here and there. And then all of a sudden, I just said, "Hey, I know you guys get encapsulated a lot of times during the season and during training camp. It's like you're at practice all day, you're on film, and then you go home, get something to eat. If you have a family, spend time with your family." Couple hours to decompress, and then it's Groundhog Day pretty much. And I said, I don't think you guys realize what you mean to a city and people in general. And I told the story about my brother passing away. And when my brother passed away a few years ago, well, God, it's probably been 8 years now. Man, it's been 8 years. That's crazy. So I remember when he passed, he was in the casket, and we're getting ready to close the casket, and something wasn't right about him. We kept looking at him, and my brother never wore a suit, so we had him in blue jeans, and we had him in a button-down shirt. And even then, he never wore a button-down. He was a T-shirt guy. But something wasn't right. So we ran to the car. He always had a Bengals hat. My brother had a receding hairline, and so he always wore a hat last couple years of his life. And we went and got this Bengals hat that he always wore, and we put it on his head, and that's when we closed the casket. And I was like, so my brother was buried with a Bengals hat on. And I was telling him that. And I said, and on top of that, and this is a true story, every time my brother overdosed, and I think he probably overdosed 4 times that I know of before he eventually passed away. But every time he would overdose, my mom would call, and I'd drive up or fly in town a couple days later, and me and him would sit on this park bench in Oxford, Ohio. If anybody's been to Oxford, there's a park right in the middle of Uptown. And we don't call it downtown. We call it Uptown because Oxford sits on a hill. And we sit on this bench, and we would just talk. And every time I talked to my brother, I knew it wasn't him. It was a version of him. But, I'd always ask him. I wouldn't try to beat him up about the addiction, about the heroin and everything. I'd always ask other questions and then eventually get around to it. But I was telling the guys, I go, every time I would talk to him, I wouldn't have him necessarily until I brought up football. And in particular, Cincinnati Bengals football. And then if I could bring that up, I go, I had him. I had my brother back for a few minutes. It wasn't a heroin addict talking to somebody. It was just two brothers sitting down talking football, and in particular Bengals football. And I was just like, so that's what you guys mean to people. I go, and I'm just one story of two brothers talking. I'm sure you can find a father-son, a grandparent, father-daughter. I mean, I'm just one, but I just try to tell them, like, that's what you mean to people. And I go, and I know you guys weren't a part of those teams when he was alive, but you're a part of this team. So you're doing that for somebody out there right now. And I said, so I just want to tell you thank you, because that's what you mean. And especially when you're winning, you mean so much to the city and the people in the city. And then I just kind of said, all right, well, that's it. I was like, where do you go? You can't go from that to go back to telling jokes and bagging on people. So it was weird because I didn't plan on it, and it just kind of happened, and then it was over. So I kind of feel bad that I ended it a little earlier when I thought. I thought I would do like 20 minutes, and I probably did 10 to 12, I think, which it was still a hot 10 or 12, but it was just like, and then so now we're done. And, you know, I said hi to a couple guys, and I remember I was kind of beating myself up afterwards. We was at dinner, and I kept asking T-Row, my opener, I go, yeah, I was all right, man. I felt bad. I went short, man, because Zach brought me in. He was like, no, man, it was fire. And he was like, dude, that was you, that you opened up yourself to these guys. And I go, yeah. But he hired me for a roast, and I turned it into like kind of like a heartfelt moment. But I really think it was like, if you believe in life after death, the only thing I can come up with is it was my brother somehow getting in my brain and talking to me and telling me, hey, tell him thank you, man. Tell him thank you. And that's the only thing I can come up with, because it was just like, it was so, and man, there was like years I couldn't bring my brother up, because I've spoken at addiction rallies and stuff like that. And man, as soon as I bring him up, I would start tearing up and getting choked up and everything. And this is the first time I was able to get through it without getting choked up. Like, it was just me telling the story, and then it was over with. And I remember the whole time, even when I brought up my brother, that my brain was going, hey, you doing this? Are you really doing this right now, Gary? And I remember I was almost talking to myself. I go, oh, we doing it. Oh, we going there. So the only thing looking back on, the only thing I feel bad about was I didn't go as long as I feel like I should have for Zach doing what he did and bringing me in like that. But, yeah, other than that, I got a text from Orlando Brown Jr., the new lineman they got, and he left me a nice text saying, hey, that meant a lot, you opening up like you did, and it hit home with a lot of the players. So that was cool.